In this tutorial, we'll learn about the control category and we will look at the first 5 code blocks in our control category. So let's start with wait code block. So this code block basically waits for number of seconds until it executes our next code block. So we can see that we have a parameter here, and inside this parameter we can give a number. Let's say I give 4. So in this case it will wait 4 seconds, and after that it will only execute our next code block. So to demonstrate it, what I'll do is I'll go to first events. I will then go to motion and I will do a glide, and then I will wait 4 seconds and I'll then again do a glide. So now what will happen is that it will do our first glide, then it will wait for 4 seconds, and after that it will do our second glide. So let's run the code. So it's first glide, now it's waiting for 4 seconds, and now it did another glide. But let's say if I create a code like this, when green flag clicked and I do one glide, and straight away I'll do another glide, and now if I remove my previous code, what I'll do is I'll just delete the green flag, and now if I run it, you can see that this is the first glide and this is the second glide. So you can see that with this wait block, it waited for 4 seconds before it executed my next code block. So there will be some condition where you have to wait, so this is the code block that you have to use. Now let's look at our next code block, which is repeat. So this repeat code block basically repeats our code whatever it's inside this repeat code block, and you can see that we also have a parameter. So let's say if I repeat, I write 4 here, so then it will repeat whatever code is written inside it for 4 times. So let me demonstrate it. So I'll go to events and I will do a green flag click, and let's say I want to glide for 4 seconds, for 4 times, because now my glide is in the repeat code block. So what will happen is when I'll run this code block, it will do glide 4 times. So you can see 1 2 3, and this is the 4th time. So this repeat code block is quite useful because I don't have to write code like this. So if I do glide here and then another glide and then another glide and then another glide, so the code on the left hand side is actually exactly the code equal to the right hand side, because you can see that on the right hand side we have used 4 individual glides, but on the right hand side I've used a code block which basically repeats our glide for 4 times. So you can see that the code on the left hand side is quite simple and quite easy to manage. So there will be many cases where you have to use repeat. So this is a really useful code block. Now I'll delete all the previous code blocks and I will demonstrate our next code block, which is forever. Now this forever code blocks basically runs our code infinitely. So let's say if I put my glide in the middle of my forever code block, so then my rocket will glide forever, it will not stop at all. So to demonstrate it, I will do a green flag clicked, and in the motion category I'll do a glide. So now when I'll run this code, you'll see that my rocket will keep on gliding and gliding and it won't stop. So let me run it, and you'll see that it will keep gliding and gliding, and the way I can stop is I can click this stop button here. So let me stop it now. So you can see that with this forever code block we can write a code which we want to execute forever, and this is a really useful code block as it will be, there will be many cases actually that we need to check things forever in our program. Now if we look at our next code block, which is if then. So if then is basically a condition in computer programming, and with the help of conditions we can execute a code, and based on the condition, if our condition is true, only then our code will be executed, otherwise it won't be executed. So you can see that this if code block has two parts. In the middle we have to write our condition, and if that condition will be true, only then the code block in the middle of the if block will run, otherwise it won't run if the condition is false. So let's actually make a scenario. So the scenario is that if our spaceship is gliding on in the space, and when it hits or touches the earth, then it should print a message on the screen, let's say landed on earth. So what I can do is I can use an if condition there, because the condition is that when the rocket hits the earth. So I have written an if condition, and when let's say it hits, then I have to print landed on earth for 2 seconds. So I'll write landed on earth. Now we have to also write a condition, and we need to understand that a condition is a boolean. So from our previous tutorial you might remember that a boolean is only true or false. So only if this condition is true, then this code will be executed. Now to write a condition of when rocket touches the earth, what I'll do is I'll go to sensing, and we'll understand what this sensing code block is in our later videos. But for now I can use this touching, and if I click this arrow I can see that we have earth here, and if I select this earth actually is the name of our sprite as well. So we can select earth here, and now if I read this whole code block, so it will keep on gliding forever, as well as it will check that if my rocket hits the earth, only then print landed on earth on my screen, otherwise don't do anything. So if I run it now, so you can see that currently there is no message on screen, but as soon as it hit the earth, you can see that landed on earth message is displayed. So now you can see that the message is now gone again because it's flying in the space. And I'll stop it now. Now if I look at our next code block, which is if else. Now this if else is quite similar to if. The only difference is that it can also execute when we have a false condition. So if we have a false condition, then our else block is executed. If we have a true condition, then our if block is executed. So let's make another scenario. Now what I want is that if my spaceship is flying, so we can say a message something like it's flying, but let's say if it's hit the earth, then we can say that landed on earth. So again it's quite similar, but what I can do is I can write this touching here, and once it touches I can again do landed on earth, landed on earth, and when it did not hit the earth, it did not touch the earth, then we can say that we are flying, and I can use this if else in my forever code block. So now if I run it, you can see that we are flying messages displayed, but as soon as I hit the earth, my message was changed. So again you can see that my message is changed. So this is how you can use if else and if conditions. So if I put them side by side, here is my if, here is my if else. The if will only allow us to execute a code if my condition is true, and if my condition is false it will do nothing. But in the if else, if my condition is true, it's gonna execute the if part, but if my condition is false, then it will execute my else part. So that's the difference between if and else, if and if else. So that's it for the tutorial. If you have any questions, just leave the comment and I'll try to answer it as soon as possible. And if you like this channel, please subscribe to it as well. Thank you.